Hello, hello. The top 10 books that I want to read in 2022. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. It's time, right? 804 pages. It's just time. I have to read it. I feel like now, because I've just recorded myself telling you that I'm going to read this, that this has become a massive burden that I know that I will have to, but I'm so stupid because I know I'm going to love it. I know I'm going to love it. Of Human Bondage by Somerset Maugham. Now, I've read this one before. This is going to be a big reread, 700 pages. I remember that I loved this book when I read it the first time, but I think I might have been 23, 24, so a very, very long time ago. I want to go back and see, do I still love it? Barely remember what this book is about. I have the feeling that it's about semi-autobiographical. When Somerset Maugham was studying to be a doctor, he had aspirations to be a writer as well, which is what happened in his actual life. I don't really look forward to rereads. I prefer to keep branching out and discovering new authors and new books but it is important to go back. Now, one of the books that I would like to reread, I really love Milan Kundera. Like, his books are wonderful. And I think I should reread The Unbearable Lightness of Being. I don't have it with me yet, but it's quite easy to find. It will actually be the third time that I've read that book. I read it once in Canada, and I read it once in Budapest. And now I want to read it one more time in Canada. If I can find, instead of The Unbearable Lightness of Being, say if I can find The Joke, and there's another one by Kundera that I also like, The Joke and something The Party, The Farewell Party. One of those Kundera books I want to read again. Okay, now here is The Unconsoled by Kazuo Ishiguro, won the Nobel Prize for Literature. The setting is a Central European city where a renowned pianist has come to give the most important performance of his life. Instead, he finds himself diverted on a series of cryptic and infuriating errands that nevertheless provide him with vital clues to his own past. In The Unconsoled, Kazuo Ishiguro creates a work that is in itself a virtuoso performance, deeply strange, hauntingly familiar, and resonant with humanity and wit. 500-page novel. The books are really coming in themes here. 2 rereads, now 2 kind of Japanese. I don't consider Ishiguro Japanese. I believe he's more of a British author, but this is definitely a Japanese author. Endo. Shusaku Endo. Silence. I read a lot of Japanese literature. My girlfriend is Japanese, and a lot of my English students have been Japanese while I've been living in Canada. In a few years, we will be moving to Japan. Reading all of these Japanese books, it's introductory course to the world of Japan. It scares me a little bit, though, to be honest. I don't know why. I've never experienced it, but I'm afraid of earthquakes, and Japan is the earthquake country. But this book's going to be good. Waiting for the Barbarians. I've only read one, Coetzee. I read the famous one, Disgrace, and it was quite good, very well written, quite hard to read. It was a hard one, and I'm expecting something very similar for this book as well. And I know Coetzee is a brilliant writer. I think Nobel Prize winner now, so it's a book to read. Joyce Cary, The Horse's Mouth. These old black penguins. The Horse's Mouth is a portrait of an artistic temperament. Its principal character, Gully Jimson, is an impoverished painter who bothers little about the customary obligations and decencies. But although he is a bad citizen, he is a good artist. So wholly preoccupied with his art that he is willing to endure any privation for its sake. Gully Jimson, however, is no self-conscious martyr. He is so wholly allergic to conventional values as to find a sardonic delight in flouting them, and the only morality he practices is the devotion he gives to painting. So this is supposed to be quite a famous comedic novel. 1944? 1944, oh, it's not that old. So The Horse's Mouth, Joyce Cary, Irish. I'm expecting a book full of humor. 8, 9, 10. Number 8, The Savage Detectives by Roberto Bolano. I have never read any Roberto Bolano, greatest books to read. I think on my list of the top 1,000 books to read before you die, The Savage Detectives has a place on that list. So this will be the first Bolano I've ever read. Oh, not so bad. Why does it feel, it's 600 pages. It feels so hefty. Almost finished. Arnold Bennett, The Old Wives' Tale. Man, I've been procrastinating with this one for a really long time. I know that it's going to be a great book. It's just that it's quite an old one. 1908. It's going to have that old style, but I do like that old style. It's just that I sort of need to slow down a little bit and get into the mindset of that period to appreciate the book. When you read a book that was published in 1908, you are reading a book that exists in a world where women were not allowed to vote in England. I think women were only allowed to vote in Finland and perhaps New Zealand. These two countries were the first in the world to give women the right to vote. I'm sorry if that's incorrect information, but that's, it's a bit dim, and I'm trying to pull it out of the dimness. So, and women would not be allowed to vote in England for, I think, another 10 years. Even the idea of women voting is dealt with laughable contempt. Oh, can you imagine if we let women vote? What's next? We're going to let the dogs vote? And that really is like, whoa, god damn. Are we reading science fiction here? But no, we're not. That is the world just a little bit over 100 years ago. And the last book, Balzac, The Black Sheep. Even though this book is much, much older, it's just that in 2021 I had, I shouldn't spoil anything that I'm going to put in my next video, but in the next video that I'm going to be making in 2 days, I'm going to be launching in 2 days, I'm going to be giving my list of the best books of 2021. Eugène Grandet by Balzac will figure somewhere on that list. So I'm eager. And what I said at the beginning of the video, if you find an author and you're like, god damn, I loved reading that, and I'm going to go to the library, I'm going to get all the Balzac I can get. It's a bit dangerous. So I have intentionally waited not a year exactly, but at least until the next calendar year, about 7 months before reading another Balzac, just because I want to give it a bit of breathing room. Eugène Grandet, just so brilliant. I don't want my expectations to be altogether too high for this one. I want to read it. I want to get that old, really old, 200 years old, that French feeling. So I'm really keen for this one, and I'm hoping that it has. See, it's a bit tricky because Eugène Grandet really was held together by the deplorable character of Monsieur Grandet, who just was a tyranny. And that made that book so wonderful to read, because it was like, oh, what is going to happen with this monster, this horrible old patriarch? And this is something entirely different. But I just enjoyed it. I liked reading Balzac very, very much, and I want more. So there we go. This will be my Balzac for 2022. And I think that's a good list. I've got some Russian, I've got some Japanese. Oh, I forgot a Canadian one on the list. I just realized now I didn't put a Canadian one on the list. Are there any Americans on the list? No Americans either. In 2 days, I'm going to be publishing my list of the best books of 2021. It is already available on Patreon, so if you support me on Patreon, you can watch it right now. And 2 days after that, I'm going to be publishing a video of the worst books of 2021. It's going to be a shorter list because I don't want to talk a lot of shit about authors and writers. I mean, they're trying their best, but there were some massive disappointments this past year, and I just want to take a humorous look at those. And that video is also available on Patreon right now, immediately. So if you support me on Patreon, you could watch it right now. You don't have to wait. Set some goals for yourself for 2022. Those are 10 big books that I'm really waiting to sink my teeth into. If you have a little extra money, you want to adopt an orphan, I'm here, I'm available. Just go to Patreon, give me a little money, and it's really for a good cause. I'm going to buy books, I'm going to read them, I'm going to make more videos. Do you ever wonder if you read too much? 2 years ago, when I was employed at a language school. In the staff room during the lunch break, the teachers were eating together, and several of the teachers made comments that if they were to make a resolution for 2020, it would be to try to read more books, to try to read at least 10 books in 2020. I didn't say anything, but I was thinking to myself, perhaps I should try to read fewer books and try to develop something else. Maybe exercise a little bit more often, or try to improve my financial situation, because I do spend awfully long time on the sofa reading books, which is one reason why I started the YouTube channel, because I thought, well, maybe I can do something with it. Enough of a goddamn preamble, all right?